It stands some very big Paul Pogba news breaking for you this evening. Also, we'll be talking a little bit about De Gea. Also, Alexis Sanchez, a bit of interesting news around that, and the selection dilemma that Paul Pogba represents in the immediate future for Manchester United. But let's fly straight into this Paul Pogba news then. So, if you remember, I had to double check before I went live actually. December the 19th, I did a video, Pogba's going nowhere. I was told by a very good source that Paul Pogba, not in a million years, would be sold this January transfer window. Now, obviously saying that in March when he wasn't sold sounds like no news, but when I said it in December, there was a lot of talk that Pogba still could go. He was just about to come back, and he actually played, didn't he, against Watford, I think, a few days after that. And there was some talk that Pogba could go in January. I was told under no circumstances would Manchester United sell Paul Pogba. The same person told me last summer, under no circumstances would Paul Pogba be sold in last summer either. Now, what I've been told this time is the Pogba situation as it stands right now is a little bit like a divorce. If they went to the divorce court now, they would get divorced, but they can't do it till May. And it's a little bit like marriage guidance. They've told Pogba and the partner, Manchester United, to trial a couple of months together and see how it goes. And if you're still unhappy, get a divorce. And this is where Manchester United see an angle to make Paul Pogba stay. And they are hopeful that Paul Pogba actually, within this new side, with Bruno Fernandes, with results improving, with Champions League football and the promise of Jadon Sancho coming in, will sign a new contract. And Manchester United's stance is definitely that they do not want to sell Paul Pogba. They didn't want to sell him last summer. They forced him to stay. They were never going to sell him in January. And the plans this summer are not to sell Paul Pogba unless Paul Pogba really forces the move, which is what is anticipated, it's what expected. But I've been told by this same person twice, very, very close to the club, saying that Manchester United are not definitely selling Paul Pogba this summer, and that they are confident that this can be turned around. It's got to be turned around by both parties. There are people within the club, within the dressing room, within the coaching setup that have their issues with Paul Pogba, but they're not unsurmountable. A lot of them are to do with what's been going off in relation to what the agent has been saying that they're not very happy about. But Paul Pogba back into this Manchester United side. I mean, I saw somebody today on social media saying that Paul Pogba is done at Manchester United. Not till May he's not. Not till May he's not. I don't care what your stance is. I don't care whether you love him, hate him, whatever. Pogba's not done at Manchester United till May. And anybody who says, oh, get out of our club or anything like that, or he's never been that good, he's here till May. We need to take the best of him. But Manchester United, ideally, Paul Pogba does well. He signs a new contract. They sign Jadon Sancho. That's their business done. And that's what Manchester United would like to happen, because they know if they sell Pogba, they've got to spend all summer negotiating with Madrid, Juventus, maybe another club. They've then got to replace Pogba. They've then got to try and get Jadon Sancho in. They've then got to try and probably get another midfielder in. And it becomes a very, very, very tough ask for Manchester United. Manchester United's ideal situation is new contract for Paul Pogba. He stays at United. They add Jadon Sancho and they go again next season. And they may just go again next season with what they've got and Jadon Sancho. So forget Grealish, forget Maddison, forget a striker. Pogba stays, it's Jadon Sancho. Let's try it out next season. Now, I don't even know what I think about that. I mean, Peter B says that we need Grealish too. It's interesting. I mean, I'm just feeding out the information I've been given, and I really sort of didn't think a lot about it until I went live, because I wanted to sort of get your opinions and then digest it myself. I mean, I'm more focused on what Manchester United are about to do over the next couple of months. And it's interesting because I saw Talk Sport talking about Paul Pogba and sort of, well, you know, he's never been world class. And I just think, well, I personally get quite irritated about this, and I know I irritate other people about what I think about people, but if I can say Matic has been superb for us over the last month and is really important for us, if I can change my opinion on a player and actually think, you know what, this isn't about agenda, I don't like Matic as a footballer, I've got no problem with Matic leaving United, but actually I wouldn't want him to go anywhere at the moment because he's really been absolutely integral to our team. I don't like Matic as a footballer. I find him a bit slow, I find him a bit static. I still believe all those things, but I've got my eyes open enough to go, he's been superb for us. And I would urge people, if I can do that about Matic, I would urge people that if Jesse Lingard came into the team and scored 3 hat-tricks, never going to happen, but you'd have to change your opinion. I think and Luke Shaw, I've always liked Luke Shaw, fortunately, but I think some people are having to readdress what they think about Luke Shaw, and they're always almost waiting for him to have a bad game. I don't think this is healthy for Manchester United fans with Manchester United players. I think most of these opinions have a basis. Everybody's opinion is valid. Some people, when we go back to Paul Pogba, would say he's inconsistent, which I would agree with. And, is he devoted to the cause, which I would agree with. But what I have to say is he's coming back into this Manchester United side in the next couple of weeks, and he will make us better. And I want him to make us better. Do I want him to make us better so much that he signs a new contract? Look, to those joining late, I'll tell you what I've been told. Paul Pogba leaving Manchester United is not a dead cert. Manchester United are hopeful that when he comes back into the team, he'll have his eyes open to the potential of this project. People like Bruno Fernandes, Jadon Sancho coming in the summer, Champions League football, a proper raid on English football, what they should have offered him 3 years ago. Manchester United feel they can offer Paul Pogba the dream, and Paul Pogba will buy into the dream and buy into a new contract. That is what Manchester United are hoping will happen, and they don't necessarily think he's going to leave in the summer. So that's the news. What do I want? What do you want? If I'm absolutely honest, I've said before, I think it's time for Pogba to go. Not because I dislike Paul Pogba. I don't. I don't dislike him. I think he's a very, very good player. What I would say is that I just think Pogba I think Mino Raiola, when you look at all of his clients, Erling Haaland was talking about it today, his admiration for Zlatan Ibrahimovic, because Zlatan Ibrahimovic goes around lots of different countries and he still scores goals. Well, who was Zlatan's agent? Mino Raiola. Who's Erling Haaland's agent? Mino Raiola. What's Erling Haaland going to do? He's going to go from Dortmund to somewhere else. And I think with Paul Pogba and Mino Raiola, Paul Pogba comes back to play for United. He does really well, which I'm expecting him to do. He signs a new contract, which he might do. And then in a couple of years' time, he's looking for a move, or even next year. And I just think maybe United's future is away from Pogba, and maybe Pogba's future is away from Manchester United. And if we can get that money for him, I think that maybe our future is better off without Pogba. But not because I dislike him, not because I've got an agenda against him, just because I think that the relationship he has with Raiola will always be a disruptive one for Manchester United. That's what I feel at the moment. But what I would say is, I think Paul Pogba on his day is one of the most explosive midfield talents in world football. Unfortunately, we haven't seen it enough at United. But anybody says, we've never seen a world-class performance from Paul Pogba. Well, you clearly don't watch Manchester United every game. Paul Pogba, away at the Etihad when we were 2-0 down in the second half, was world-class. I saw him numerous times. Look, Paul Pogba's stats last season we're beyond brilliant. So Paul Pogba has played good games for United, and I think we forget that. What he has been is inconsistent. For every good game, we've had a bad game. It's inconsistency with Pogba. But if he comes back into this team over the next 6 weeks and plays fantastically well, I think I would be of a mindset, which I always have been, it's better to keep something that's good than to risk letting it go and trying to replace it. So, look, it's going to be very, very interesting with Paul Pogba. We'll have to wait and see which way it goes, but very interesting. I think there is this sort of this theme that some United fans want to join on, that United want rid of Pogba. He's toxic. They want to get rid of him. They want to rebuild under Ollie. They don't want Pogba here. And nothing could be further from the truth. Paul Pogba, Manchester United don't want to sell Paul Pogba for many reasons. There's business reasons not to sell him, but they don't want to sell Paul Pogba because actually it will make their summer far less disruptive. They're going to have to spend so long dealing on that sale, then they're going to have to get replacements in. Basically, what Manchester United want to do this summer is get Champions League football, keep Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, keep Paul Pogba, and sign Jadon Sancho, and it becomes a very smooth, low business summer. If they have to get rid of Ollie, they have to get rid of Pogba, they've got to replace both of those, they've got to still try and get Sancho without Champions League football. It becomes a mess. Manchester United are hopeful that Pogba will stay, that Solskjaer will stay, that the Champions League football will be gained. We'll have to wait and see, won't we? Sancho is rubbish and overrated, says Gavin H99. Herrera is the missed player, says Michael Jones. Pogba, this proves why we need Champions League. Ollie needs to get this in his mind, says Bruno Fernandes Arnie. Pogba got 30 goals last season in a very bad United side. That's world class enough for me, says the Batman channel. I don't think he got 30 goals, mate. He needs to get well, come back in and play a few games with Bruno, see how that works. First, he has to get well and be able to play in the first team, says KT. And with Pogba's money, Neves, Jota and Grealish, he's inconsistent because the whole squad is, says JT Music FTW. And look, there's just a sprinkling of the feeling. I think Paul Pogba's very much like Manchester United, isn't he? He's very much like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I've always felt that the agenda against Paul Pogba is somewhat misfortunate. I don't disagree with people who have the issue. I personally do, but I understand where it comes from. But I think Paul Pogba is symbolic of Manchester United. For every inconsistent performance of Paul Pogba, there's inconsistent planning, there's inconsistent fitness records, there's inconsistent managers, there's inconsistent results. And I think Paul Pogba has been an inconsistent player in an inconsistent club. And we've now got a manager who's an inconsistent manager in an inconsistent club with inconsistent players. So inconsistency runs through Manchester United like a stick of rock. You know those stick of rocks you can get from Brighton and stuff, and it has a word in it like Brighton Rock. Manchester United's stick of rocks is inconsistency, and every bite it's still there. That's something that we have to get rid of. Now, look, I think it's going to be very, very interesting what happens. I can only feed the information I get. I don't get this information very, very often, but I have the same person has said to me 3 bits of information about Pogba now. And to be honest with you, it does stand to reason anyway. It does stand to reason. And I really liked what they said, that it is like a marriage. Pogba wants the divorce at the moment. Raiola wants the divorce. But Manchester United want to give it another go, and the fact that the marriage counsellor is basically saying, "Well, you're not having a divorce till May anyway," means that United can spend a bit of quality time with Pogba between now on the pitch and May. And if Pogba enjoys that quality time, he might think, you know what, forget the divorce. Let's renew our vows, and that's what Manchester United are hoping for. Hi, Mark. Do you think Bruno is better than Pogba? Says Yanni 2888. I think in relation to Bruno Fernandes, he is the great hope, isn't he? I think Paul Pogba will look at Bruno Fernandes and go, these are the players that should have been brought in when I came to the club. In fairness to Pogba, he came to Manchester United and was told, he was sold a dream that we're going to build a championship winning side. And I think what he thought was Premier League, not the Championship. But are we good enough to win the Championship anyway? I don't know. But seriously, we've not delivered the quality of player that Pogba deserved. And no, that could sound arrogant, but Paul Pogba is the sort of player that should be surrounded by a Kante type CDM, an Aguero type striker. You know, but look at Rashford this season, look at Martial this season. They've improved a lot, and Pogba's hardly played with them. We've now brought Bruno Fernandes in, whose consistency will put people like Pogba to shame, because Pogba struggles for consistency. Bruno Fernandes doesn't. Bruno Fernandes has played 5 games for United. He's got 3 goals and 2 assists. Mesut Ozil has played 17 games for Arsenal. He's got 1 goal and 1 assist. That just shows you Mesut Ozil is a proven Premier League number 10, and Bruno Fernandes has been here 5 minutes, and he's a stat padder. I've said that before. So, you know, I mean, to be honest with you, never compare Bruno with that German Pereira, but you know what I mean? His stats are very, very good. So I can't wait to see Pogba back in this United side, and I think it will be a better United side for it. And you know what I do struggle with, I think, and we all struggle with this as well, is what do you want? I said this a couple of weeks ago. What do you want as Manchester United fans? Do you want Ollie gone? Therefore, you don't want Champions League football and you want Pogba to leave? Or do you want Champions League football, which means Solskjaer stays and Pogba might stay? What is it you want? And I just go back to what I said. I want Champions League football. I want Manchester United to win games. That's the 2 things I want. Whatever comes along with that, comes along with that. I don't really get... Look, I totally understand that Solskjaer is not a great coach at the moment. Maybe he will be one day. I don't think he will, but maybe he will be one day. I totally understand that Pogba has flirted with leaving too many times, that it is a little bit disrespectful. But also, he's a very, very good player. But ultimately, I want Manchester United to be in the Champions League in May. And what comes with that, comes with that. And I certainly would say this, that if we've got Solskjaer as manager, then there's still a lot of building to do. But if you've also got Champions League football, Jadon Sancho and Paul Pogba, with Bruno, a back Rashford, I can't think about it. Rejuvenised? No, that's not the word. Re-energised Rashford, and you know, Wan-Bissaka's here for a year experience, Maguire's here for experience, Williams is a year older, Greenwood's a year older, Fred's established. There's a lot to look forward to, but look, it's a massive couple of months for Manchester United. Tim Z35 says, if we're going to play with Bruno and Pogba, then United need proper CDM big time. Matic and Scott will struggle in that role. And that's the thing I next wanted to talk about. How do we... Now, Pogba's due to be back training with United this week. I don't think United trained today. I thought that they did, but there was nothing about Pogba. So I presume we train tomorrow ahead of the game against Derby. So I would expect to see pictures of Paul Pogba on the training pitch tomorrow. No way does he play against Derby. No way should he play against Manchester City. He may be on the bench for that. But I would say that Pogba should be starting against Spurs a week on Sunday. And then we move. But how do you stick Paul Pogba into that team? I would say that what was just said there, the ideal would be for me 4-3-3, one holding midfielder with Pogba and Bruno. But I think we've already seen what Ollie's going to do. I think he's going to go for a brand new formation of a diamond to accommodate everybody because he's too scared to drop people. But I think the diamond could be problematic because where's the bloody width? And we're splitting strikers. I don't like the look of that diamond at the weekend. I know a lot of you did, but I didn't. Martial and Greenwood, hot spots basically as withdrawn wingers. The fullbacks being double teamed. No width, giving up the width. Not enough chances created. I don't like the look of that. I think he's going to have to be brave, but the problem he's got is that he will have Pogba, Fernandes, Fred, Matic and McTominay, all of which possibly should be starting. But how does he pick 3 players? Will we see Pogba as a CDM in a 4-2-3-1? Will we see Fred drop to accommodate Pogba? It's going to be very interesting. But look, you know me, I don't like to sit on the fence. My team for Manchester United would be 4-2-3-1. Not because that's what I want to see, but because that's what Ollie's played the most this season. So to me, that's the way Ollie wants to play. And if he's going to play a 4-2-3-1, it's going to have to be Pogba in a deep-lying role with somebody else and Bruno as the attacking force with 3 forwards. But I think we've got to have 3 forwards. We've got to have a central striker and we've got to have 2 wide men. We can't have a diamond that concedes that. So, look, it's going to be difficult. How do you get Fred, Pogba and Bruno in the same midfield? I don't know how you do it. I don't like the diamond. I don't. And as George Kyle says, 4-3-3, if it's a 4-3-3 and one person's holding the midfield, can it be Fred? Has he got the discipline or the bad first touch? I don't know. I saw somebody say something brilliant today, and I don't know where they got it from. I think it was a podcast, and it might have been the Duncan Castles one, saying that teams are purposely instigating their press as soon as Fred gets the ball. And it'd be interesting to keep an eye on that at the weekend. When Fred gets the ball, the opposition press because his first touch isn't that great. So, look, can Fred be the CDM if his first touch isn't great? Has he got the defensive discipline as a Matic? I would say that it should be Matic, but is Matic young enough to be able to hold that midfield on his own now with Pogba and Bruno pushing forward? It's difficult to build a midfield, and that's going to be Ollie's problem. But I don't like the diamond. I really don't. And Zach says you could put Bruno out wide on the right. You could do that. He's played that position for Sporting. I would, if we ever do put Bruno Fernandes on the right hand side of a 4-2-3-1. Don't start moaning about it because he has played that position for Sporting Lisbon. But it's going to be interesting how he does that over the next few weeks. But first thing is, as somebody said before, get Paul Pogba back. Please do smash a like on the video if you're watching live. Really fast-paced video tonight because I've got to finish at about 7:30 because I'm doing Chelsea versus Liverpool watch-along on That's Football. The link is in the video description for that. Hopefully Chelsea are going to win and stop this treble. Arsenal celebrating at the weekend because Watford beat Liverpool because they keep the Invincibles Cup. The treble is still on for Liverpool and they've got the league. It's only the Champions League and the FA Cup. So I'm doing a watch along for that on That's Football. Links in the video description and we'll carry on the conversation over there. But look, there's still a few things I do need to talk about with regards to De Gea now. Now, there was some talk of De Gea maybe being sold if we keep Pogba to generate a little bit of income. I don't see that happening. Nora, who does our website, Nora Calder, she was saying very validly that it's all right people saying let's get rid of De Gea and sign and bring Dean Henderson in because he's on loan and he's our player and he costs nothing and he's a good player. But the problem is De Gea's just signed a new contract and he's on very big money. Very big money. Rumoured to be around £300,000 a week. How are you going to get a transfer fee and £300,000 a week out of somebody? I don't think De Gea's going anywhere. And actually, this evening, there's talk that Dean Henderson will go on loan again next season because De Gea is the number one. But it's interesting. I'm a big fan of De Gea. I think people talk about De Gea as if he's as if he's 38 and he's on the decline. He's 28. He's 28. In goalkeeper years, you hit your prime around your early 30s. So De Gea's not even in his prime years yet. And he seems like he's been around for ages. But he's not on the decline. I think it's just it's a moment in his career where he just needs to find that consistency again. But he's definitely not on the decline. He's not going to be on the decline for 10 years. And we have got one of the best goalkeepers in the world. We've just got to deal with him. And another thing that people don't talk about David De Gea enough is we've changed the goalkeeping coach for him numerous times in the last couple of years. Even this season, we got rid of his goalkeeping coach to bring somebody else in. And these things don't get discussed about. But if you're a boxer, and a goalkeeper is a very individual thing. When you're playing outfield, you're all a big group. When you're a goalkeeper, your training is very much about the people who train you as individuals. And De Gea, if he's a boxer, he's Tyson Fury and you change their trainer, there's going to be a change in it. And I think De Gea has struggled from disruption. He also had the disruption of the contract. But I think it's time to stick by David De Gea. But I do also say, in relation to Dean Henderson, some interesting stats for you here over this season so far. Clean sheets, De Gea's had 7 and Henderson's had 9. However, De Gea's made 72 saves and Henderson has made 66. They've had what's that there? I can't see. But basically what I was going to say, I don't even know what I wrote there. That was a bit stupid of me. But basically what I was going to say is Dean Henderson's stats are slightly better than De Gea's. However, De Gea has faced more shots than Dean Henderson. So Sheffield United, as much as Ollie talks about our defence has improved, actually Sheffield United have defended better than us this season, and David De Gea has faced more shots. Michael Mairstar says, if Ollie plays Pogba out of position, there's no point in keeping him, sell and buy a real CDM. If not, and he decides to want to stay, he's a world-class player and we should keep him. And that Michael Mairstar is probably right there. It's about what we do with De Gea. It's about, not De Gea, it's what we do with Pogba, isn't it? And look, I might get proved wrong on this. I don't know what you lot think. I might get proved wrong on this, but I genuinely disliked the diamond formation on Sunday. I know why people liked it, because the midfield looked strong and we got hold of the midfield, but tell me that was a good attacking performance, I'll call you a liar. It wasn't. You need fullbacks who are very good going forward, and Shaw and Wan-Bissaka are okay, they're not very good. If you're going to play that diamond midfield, you basically need Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, who are basically wingers going forward. They're so good at crossing. We haven't got that. Not many teams have. I'm not being critical. Not many teams have got that. So we haven't got the fullbacks to play that diamond, because your fullbacks are your width. And also, you massively mess up Martial and Greenwood, but more importantly Martial. This season for Martial has been about playing centrally as a striker, about Ollie coming out after games and saying, I'm always getting on at him to get in the box, be patient. And then in that new formation, he's basically telling him to get out on the left touchline again, which he's done for the last 3 years. That diamond is not going to allow for a centre striker, so I don't like it. I don't like the lack of width, the quality of width. And I don't think we got the best out of Fred or McTominay either. I don't think they liked those. I think Matic played well in it, man of the match. I thought Bruno played well in it at the head of the diamond. But the two box-to-box, McTominay and Fred, I don't think they had great games. Mark, why can't we play Pogba on the left in a 4-2-3-1? Matic can play on the right. Why not? Give him a free roll-ish. He plays on that side anyway, says Basil Strad. Interesting. And Ratshaki Ikari is the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. In fact, thanks for doing that, mate, for joining the club, because I just need to remind people we're recording the podcast in the morning. Members will know that if you go to the community tab on our homepage of YouTube, there is a special post for members for you to get your questions in for the podcast, and we read a lot of those questions out. So if you are a member, go to the community tab after the video and get your questions in for the podcast, which we will be recording tomorrow. And remember, on the podcast, you can win a prize every week. And it's free, the podcast. The link's in the video descriptions if you want to listen to it. It doesn't get put up on here. The latest on Pogba, says Segwayne. So look, I'll just summarise it for you. The latest with Paul Pogba is that Manchester United do not want to sell Paul Pogba. They accept that Pogba wants to leave, but they believe that over the next couple of months, when Pogba's back playing in United's side with Bruno Fernandes and the prospect of Sancho and Champions League football, they can get him to stay, and that's what they want to happen. That is United's stance. It's nonsense that United are prepared to let him go. That's not what United want to happen. They want him to stay, and that's coming from a source close to the club. Would you still buy Jack Grealish if Pogba stays, says Sean C. I would. Do I think we will? No. I don't think we will. I think if Pogba stays, we'll try and sign Sancho, and that will be our business done, because Bruno from January was part of the budget, and 100 million on Sancho would be 150. We'll get little bits back from some of the sales we make, but there's not going to be a significant sale if Pogba stays. So you're talking about 20-30 million for Lingard, maybe 20 million for Pereira. So we might get the net spend down to about 100 million, but that's all they'll spend if Pogba stays. So yeah, it'll be Sancho and nobody else if Pogba stays. Which, to be honest with you, if Pogba was happy to stay, you know, I can see why United wanted to do it. Fernandes, Pogba, and the rotation of Fred and McTominay, says Rival. Alexis Sanchez is not, says Kian Quinn, and Michael Jones says Sanchez is not wanted back at United. Yes, well, thanks for reminding me about Sanchez. So the latest on Alexis Sanchez is that He wants to stay in Italy, preferably with Inter Milan. Inter Milan would be willing to take him. He missed half the season injured, but since he's come back, he's been decent. But the problem with it is he would have to take a considerable pay cut because he's on £400,000 a week. £400,000 a week. How is Ed Woodward still in a job? £400,000 a week for Alexis Sanchez. It's stunning that we thought what we thought we were buying. I mean, I was very happy when we signed Sanchez, but I never would have given him 400 grand a week. What did United think they were buying? Ronaldo Mark II? Yeah, the one that's retired. I mean, I just don't know what we thought we were buying for 400 grand a week. Just absolutely stunning. And the best thing is, at Arsenal, his wages were about 200. So we doubled his wages to come to Manchester United, and he's the biggest flop we've ever had. So, Inter Milan would like to take Sanchez, but they want him on the cheap, which means United are going to have to write off his... Because it's not that easy. It won't be Alexis Sanchez who goes, I want to come to Italy, I'll take 200 grand a week. It'll be United having to pay off his contract. So we will end up either keeping Sanchez or having to pay him 10, 20 million to go. That's how bad that contract is. How is Woodward in a job? Or whoever who signed that off, how are they in a job? And it does show there are plenty of signs there of incompetence at Manchester United. We might be about to see it with Gomez walking out the door for nothing. We saw it last summer with Herrera walking out the door for nothing. And we also saw it the January before with this Alexis Sanchez contract. Not only was it 400 grand a week, but it was also a 4-year deal as well. For a player who was, 29 at the time? This just displays a total lack of knowledge of football at Manchester United, unfortunately. But look, that's a problem for the summer. We'll be talking about Sanchez in the summer. But look, I hope we can move him on. I've got to the point, I don't know about you, where I actually forget we've got Alexis Sanchez. And I hope that he never comes back. He's a disruptive, negative person around Manchester United. He forced that loan move. Ollie didn't really want him to go. Ollie was like talking about him proving people wrong. Again, in January, he was talking about people proving him wrong because he knows how difficult it is to get rid of him. But he is a very negative influence at United. The Auditor CY says the 4-3-3 with McTominay, Fred and Pogba in the middle and Bruno on the right will massively improve our creativity and help Martial score more goals. McTominay, Fred and Pogba in the middle. I would like to see that. And, you could play Bruno off the right and get him to wander in. That is actually... What you're talking about there is a back four with McTominay holding the midfield, Fred to the right of the midfield, Pogba to the left of the midfield, Fernandes to the right but tucks in, Rashford off the left, Martial up front. Yeah, I think it could work. I really do. Please do smash a like. We've nearly hit 1,000 likes. I'm going to end the video there. We did a video a little bit early tonight. It's normally 8 o'clock. It'll be back at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. But I'm going to do a watch along for Chelsea versus Liverpool. The link's in the video description for that. It's on That's Football. So if you want a United stand show on That's Football at 8 o'clock, because basically I'll watch the game, but I'll be chatting around about United a lot anyway. But I wanted to get this video done before that. So I'm literally going to end this video, a couple of minutes, be live over there. So links in the video description. It's on That's Football. I'll see you on there. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Remember, if you're a member, go over to the community tab of our homepage and put your questions in for the podcast. And I'll see you on That's Football in a minute or two. Thanks for watching.